Oh my God, literally brand new.
The total works out about.
Alright then guys, welcome to the video, welcome back to the channel, and today is the day. It is actually all complete. As you can see, the car is on the ground. I haven't seen underneath this thing yet, so I don't know what it looks like, but it's just about to go up on this ramp to get the fast road alignment like I had before. It's such a shame that the drive here was so filthy and disgusting, because look at how terrible the car looks. It's pretty grim. The moment of truth. Let's have a look at what this thing looks like. I haven't seen it. We're going to reveal it behind this. Your first time seeing it is my first time seeing it. So here we go. Let's see what all this hard work has come down to. Oh my God, it's literally brand new. I'm actually like lost for words. Everyone that saw that I was having this done, that's had it done already, were like, you're not gonna wanna drive it in the wet now. And I can understand why. It looks insane. I have no idea what to say. I'm speechless. Let's get Jake in and let's have a walk around this thing to actually show you everything that's happened. So Jake, looking like a brand new car underneath here.
Yes.
So what exactly has happened since I was last here?
You saw us applying the underbody protection, and since then we've let it cure and dry and then do the full ground up build then. As you can see, all your powder coated kit's on now, all the new bushes, every single nut bolt clip has been replaced. See some of the new clips here, every nut bolt, and then we go above and beyond, because everything that comes off, why not refurb it while it's off?
Yeah.
So all the ABS brackets have been stripped down, sandblasted, powder coated.
So what I've decided to do is, these are anthracite grey, which you can't really tell at this angle actually. It kind of does look black with everything, but once this is on the ground you'll be able to see. So I've done this anthracite, this in anthracite, and I've also done the front anti-roll bar in anthracite. Just a subtle little hit of grey to sort of blend in with everything in black. Heat shield's looking fresh, and it's such a massive like contrast.
Little bits like screws as well. Any screws that go, they all get zinc plated as well. And then for the rest, why put a rusty screw back in when it's as good as this underneath? A few bits left to do. We've got to align it now. Bung holes are all exposed, because after alignment we'll cavity wax it, we'll go all the bung holes up, and then we're good to go really, mate. Yeah.
I'm still lost for words, to be honest. It looks so good. It's probably the only time ever where the underside of the car is cleaner than the outside body of the car, because it's absolutely filthy at the moment. Shame I'm gonna make this all filthy as well in the future.
Oh, one thing to note, we've put harder rear springs on, but we've also applied coilover socks to protect them.
I decided at this point, this was the time, if I was ever going to upgrade anything, because of doing all the bushes and everything, this was the time to do upgraded rear springs. So these are now, are they 16K?
14s they are.
14s.
With it being a daily still, we go for 14. So
So
they were originally 8 before.
So it should feel a bit more stiff in the rear. It's just another one of those things, as well as the bushes, to basically make this the ultimate daily fast road fun car. Oh, while we're here, let's see the Mugen. Oh yes, you can see it. There you go, there is the Mugen oil filter installed. Looks like no different to the standard Honda one, but hey, it says Mugen on it. Looks pretty cool in this yellowy colour that it is as well. Again, works well in contrast with the rest of the car. New rear camber arms. There was no point in putting the old ones back on just because they were pretty gross, and well, they were on the car when I got the car, so I don't even know how long
they were
they
a bit tired to be fair.
So yeah, new rear camber arms as well to complete the whole rear suspension looking fresh as well. The car's getting the fast road alignment. This is 100% one thing I, as you know, if you've watched many of my videos, recommend doing. This little bit alone transforms how this thing drives, and the added bonus for me this time obviously is that the bushes are all brand new, so that's going to be a completely different feel, and with the new rear springs in the back as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what this thing's actually like on a twisty road. The other thing, which is a huge bonus as well, not that you can totally tell from here, is that this front bumper now fits so much better than it did before as well. I guess it's partly to do with the repairs that happen behind there, but also partly because it's actually been mounted properly this time, and it makes such a massive difference to the front of the car. It's obviously obviously quite hard to show from this angle. Although the gaps aren't perfect, this is far more livable than how it was before, which I'm very happy about. Another thing that I've decided to go for this time round is some socks for the springs for the coilovers. Now this is a preventative install really for the future if any adjustments or anything are needed, because this pretty much preserves the springs and the collars, everything behind here, so that they don't rust like mine did, which meant it was a bit of a nightmare to get these apart. If you're thinking of doing some coilovers, these aren't that much more money extra, and I think it will save you a lot of annoyance, pain and heartache in the future. Although they don't look as cool because you can't see the spring, it's definitely a worthy investment to pick some of these up. So this time round I've done that, and in theory it should stay fresh underneath here the entire time these are on. Also, you may have remembered from a previous video, I bought some dust caps and new bleed nipples for the calipers. They're obviously more on here than this, but mine never had them, so I just thought it was worth getting them for this outside one just here because it was super exposed and it kind of just completes the look of the caliper. Another thing to mention whilst we're looking at these calipers, obviously these do need a refurb and a respray to look their best as well, so that is something I'll be looking to do in the future as well. So Jake, in here, I guess the only thing really bringing this whole area down is my rear disc. It's looking very rusty, but everything else, yes, looking amazing. So now the wheels off, we can get more of a clear view in here of the bits that have gone on. So what exactly are you looking at in here? Yeah,
so if this was out the way, you would see the brand new wheel bearings, powder coated and refurbished backing plates, your new camber arms, the full Super bush kit and the rear uprights now. Obviously every single nut bolt is replaced. New brake line clips, because why put a rusty one on. New filler neck on this, because as you know, it's very common for the filler necks to be corroded and rusted. Yours wasn't too bad, because we've gone through all of this. I was like, let's chuck one on, why not? Obviously your coilover socket, you can see it better now. ABS brackets are all been refurbished, new little bolts in there as well.
I did mention this in the last video, but this rear arch panel looks so good now, especially compared to what it used to look like as well.
Yeah, I think we still got a piece in your box somewhere, but yeah, Jim does a great job of welding these in. I think he did a new return lip on it as well, because it had rotten a bit there, but as you can tell.
Yeah, you just can't tell at all, can you? It just looks like this is how it came from the factory.
Which is what you expect having a proper arch panel replacement by us. We make our own and there you go. It's what you want.
Yeah, exactly. So again, a bit rusty here. These need a refurb, but again, everything past that is fresh. So yeah, what's going on here?
Same again, ABS brackets all refurbished, new bolts in there. Our zinc plated kit that comes with our powder coat set anyway. You can't see the new bearings behind, but you can see the zinc plated drive flange, the new nuts, Super bushes, caster increase ones.
Yes, I did have those before, and this is going to be interesting because those were the only poly bushes I had on the underside of the car. So I do obviously know what these feel like, but everything else along with it is going to be such a nice upgrade.
Simple bits like this. So normally when you replace track end, they come with a nut, a castle washer. We always use Nylox, especially on our race cars as well. And again, we have to go with gold because the rest of the bolts are gold.
Yeah.
Same with the ball joints underneath as well. Nylox and gold.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so it just ties together.
Yes.
That's, I think, the coolest thing is like all the bolts popping so much against the black, which is another reason why I went for the black, because Cosmic Grey I think would have looked a bit strange, but having that pop of colour of every bolt sort of accentuates them. In the arch liner here, these all being fresh as well. So yeah, next step is the cavity waxing then, isn't it?
Yeah, so alignment's all done now. Wheels are back off. What we'll do, we'll send cavity wax in every hole that we can see, and then we'll bung all them holes up. It will drip, it will bleed out a little bit, but I think by the time you get home, you'll be absolutely fine. And that protects it from inside out as well.
Up it goes for, I guess, the final time. So Jake, haven't actually spoken about this fully. What do you get for choosing to go with the poly bush and powder coating set?
The arms, the uprights and everything that goes with it. Now you can opt for the hardened rubber bushes or the Super bushes. We always like to go for the Super bushes for longevity. Polyurethane bush, it's serviceable. You can pop the pins out and re-grease the sliders and that. You can go for the hardened rubber. People do that if they want to go full OEM spec. For you want to upgrade at the same time. So yeah, you get all your arms refurbished, powder coated, new bearings, everything zinc plated, nuts and bolts zinc plated, and I think we touched on it earlier that every little nut bolt bracketry that comes off will be replaced part of that. In terms of the package, so you get all your arms, new bushes, your uprights with a polyurethane bush in the Super Pro, and then every single bracket, as you can see here, nuts, bolts are all part of the kit. The bearings, same on the front, all the roll bars get done, the little bracketry that holds them on, subframes, lower arms, uprights again, new ball joints, bearings, drive flanges in them. So there's quite a lot to the package really. It's not just, as people think, oh, it's just my lower arms or the rear uprights. It's every single thing, everything that can be powder coated is done.
There's still stuff that I'm even noticing, even looking under it now, like at these little bolts here and things as well, this little bracket for that. Instead of it being just the big stuff, it's all the little bits as well, isn't it? It's literally
every single bracket you can find has all been refurbished, refreshed. Same again, tank straps.
Oh yeah, yeah, so, hadn't even clocked that.
They're brand new as well. Nice. You can keep looking for days, you'll see everything that's refurbished.
My thought of how this would end up looking, it's turned out exactly what I thought, where just the zinc just pops against the black. So yeah, hopefully that clears up anything you were thinking about in terms of the powder coated option, because as you can see, I think it's well worth it. It looks so much better under here. And yeah, just imagine seeing all that black, lovely underside, but then with all of these bits all being as rusty as they were when they showed up. If you're ever going to do it, now is the best time to do it, as it's all off anyway. It will cost you less to do it now than it would be to take all of this stuff off in this situation, get it done and done it again as well. Yeah. So that's it too, really, isn't it?
I mean, it's such a shame as well to take everything apart to then put it back as not refurbished, not rusty, but the outcome of it, I think people don't appreciate the amount of time and effort that goes into it. Like, it takes time to strip all the ABS sensors down and all the bracketry and stuff like that. To get to this stage, it's got to be right, and you want to do it once, don't you? So yeah, you don't want to rebuild it to this and then take it all back apart again to do the bushes in the future. So I understand it's budget dependent sometimes, but it's a nicer way to do it. So
yeah, I think I would personally recommend, if you are thinking of getting the underside done, I would recommend just saving for a little bit longer, like I've done, to be able to afford to do everything at the same time, even though it's a slightly longer period of time before you get it done. I think the end product you'll be far happier with than wishing you'd done what I've basically gone with, which was the thing I was worried about. If I didn't go for it, I'd be really annoyed that I didn't go for it. And here we have the final remnants of what was the car, all in this box here. So a couple of extra arch panels, various other bits. This is definitely a lot heavier than it was last time. Look at all of this in here. And there we go, the car is coming out for its first test drive since everything all went on underneath this thing. So out it goes. You can see how much better the front bumper fits as well, which is very nice to see. So guys, got Dave here. The car is complete and road test done, everything. We are all good to go. But before we go, first of all, I've got a list of questions I asked you guys on Instagram. So if you're not following me on Instagram, what are you doing? So I thought I'd run through those with Dave, just so that clears up some things for you guys before we get into the most important question, which is obviously the cost of doing something like this. So Dave, in terms of like keeping the underside of this thing clean now, can I jet wash it? Is that
Yeah, you can jet wash it. As with anything with the jet wash, don't hang it super close to it. The best thing to do is you can jet wash it off from afar, you can snow foam it, hot soap your water and a sponge to clean all the arches out, and then jet wash it from underneath. That's absolutely fine. If you can damage it with a jet wash, then I don't think we've done a good enough job. Use a bit of common sense, basically. WD-40 works really well on all the powder coated bits as well.
A lot of people are trying to come up with things they can do, I guess, that are preventative before doing something like this. So would you recommend doing something like rust converter for the surface rust, or?
Yeah, I mean, things like rust converter and basic prep that you can do yourself is obviously never a bad thing. So if you can get in with a wire brush, get all the loose stuff off, stick some rust converter on it, let it dry, and then you put some primer on it. That will help in the short term, definitely. Do not cover it in under seal or wax oil or anything like that. Just rust convert it, prime it, and then leave it at that if you're thinking about doing it this type of thing in the future. Because like we said at the beginning of the process, anything that you put on that car when you go to do something like this has to be ground back off. So the more sticky, oily stuff that you put on there makes this process much more time consuming, much harder, and you don't really achieve anything. But yeah, rust converter and things like that are definitely something you can do at home for sure.
So this is kind of a little of a jokey one, but I think can still relate. So like, can you do EP2s? But I'm going to go off of that and just say, can you do other cars?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously we don't just do EP3s. We've done S2000s, FK2s, 205s, MR2, loads of things that we've done already restoration-wise, Subarus and Evos. So it's not specific to an EP3. The process is universal, really. There's certain steps and the stages that we do that applies to any car that we do that on. So EP2s, 205s, 1.1 Saxo, whatever it is that you want to do.
Nice. So would you ever say no to a car if like it's just too rusty, I guess?
Yeah, and we have done a few times actually. And that is, everything is fixable and everything is savable. It's just how much time, effort and budget you have to achieve this level of finish. There's loads of different stages or sort of conditioned cars that are either at a point where you're like, it's probably cheaper to reshell it. Not many people want to reshell the car because of the chassis number things that you have on logbooks, but it's not really an issue. There's a tipping point basically where it's much cheaper to reshell it or to start again. That said, we have repaired some that have been in a really bad way and the cars have come out really, really nicely, but obviously there's a cost and a time frame attached to that, and if you're not prepared to get into that when we first health check it, then obviously you need to try and sort of like weigh up your options or whether or not it's better to reshell it. But yeah, we have turned cars away. Did one yesterday actually.
Right. What else do you guys do? So can you do interior restorations, engine bay like spraying, everything like that?
Yeah, so and the engine bay spraying is a part or a choice that you can make at the stage that you did. Obviously, when we take the engine out, you can then prep the engine bay, paint it, put it back together into whatever spec you want. Interior, you can do the same thing, put a cage in, paint it, seats, safety systems, whatever it is that you want to do. If you've got an idea in your head or something that you can foresee and you want to achieve, then we can help you get there. But again, it just depends on which part of the process you want to do. And as with anything, planning what you want to achieve with the car long term helps you budget and know which order to do it. But yeah, we can do interiors, engine bays, anything.
A lot of you EP3 owners, I understand this one. So should I remove the arch liners in the rear, exposing the crusty wheel arch, or leave it covered until it gets treated?
So my thought process on this is always that if you've got an EP3 and you're already aware of the issues that they have in the common areas, take the arch liners out, clean it all up, dry it all up, get rid of all the loose corrosion, rust treat it, and then if you've got a dry arch liner and you're going to go through this process, you can put it back in or you can leave it out. There's no like right or wrong. The reason these rot behind the arch liners is because it's been on the UK road for 20 years and the arch liners just get saturated with water and salt over the different seasons and winter. If you want to take it out in the short term, you've got the car for the next 5-10 years and you're thinking, I'm going to go through this process, how do I best preserve the car until I've got the budget to do it, then absolutely crack on. But like I say, just make sure you use the correct products and you prep it properly. There's no harm in trying to treat things like ad hoc, I guess, or like sort of as you get to it, but just make sure that you have the end goal inside.
Yeah.
So you know what you want to achieve, because there's no point just treating something and think, meh, it's done now, or taking the arch liners out and thinking, oh, I'll just leave that now because the arch liners caused the issue. Well, yes, to a certain extent, but if you drive it all winter with nothing there, then that will accelerate the corrosion that's already taking place.
The big question, there's two parts to this question. So how much does something like this cost and can it be done in white? But I suppose that's just like, you can choose any color.
Yeah, you literally can choose any color you want. The product we use, you can tint with body color. Obviously, it's a little bit more of a process to make sure you've got the correct color primer and thing there so that you've not got to apply 4 or 5 coats. And cost-wise, do you want to talk through the invoice?
Yeah.
So we have a base cost, which is assuming that the car does need no repairs and it has no big holes in anything, the car's totally straight, just to do the underside, which is removal of all the components like you saw in the video. Take the car back to bare metal everywhere, rust treat it, key that, rust encapsulate it, key that, underseal it, assemble the car with your existing components or a powder coated set, depending on what you want to do, but the base cost is assuming that you use your existing bits. Bleed the brakes, set it up, cavity wax it, we rebung it, and that's 3,000 quid. Then the powder coated set on top of that is 1458 plus the VAT, and then sill repairs are on their own, 720. If you do it as part of the restoration, that's 600 per side. The reason it's less is obviously because you've already got the entire underside of the car off and it's ground back and treated, so there's a lot less labour involved in doing that. Arch panels are £300 per side as part of a restoration, £400 per side if it's done without a restoration. This is all plus VAT on these prices. It can be 3 grand as a base, or it can be 10 grand as a top line if you really spec it up with different coilovers, bush kits, blah, blah, blah. Everything that we do with the health check, we give you a base cost, and you have to treat that as a base and accept that some things can and probably will increase, i.e. when you start to take drop links off, you're probably gonna have to replace them because the nuts don't come off. There might be playing a tracker end, there might be a few other bits and bobs, and then so that base then becomes a little bit extra. And what we try to make sure is when you come along to collect the car is you don't go, well, you said it was gonna be 3 grand.
Yeah,
well, yeah, but you have to treat it as a base. Until you start taking things apart, you just do not know. And like with Ollies, you take the front bumper off and you find that the rad support's broken, and you need to do that as well. So just be aware that these costs are a very, very good guideline of what you were expecting to pay. But as with anything of this nature, you just have to accept that some things can and probably will break.
This is the invoice of what mine has cost. Bearing in mind, mine, you would say, is a pretty good one, right?
Yeah, as far as they go, yeah. Obviously, we had to put a pair of arch panels in it. It had a couple of patches in the sills, full new rad support cross member. There's a little patch on a floor pan that we did, and obviously you had full powder coat set. It had a fuel filler pipe, some new rear camber arms, AC rear gas, some bigger rear springs, coilover socks it had as well, engine oil. The total works out about 6,633.79.
Let's say £6,650 just to make it easy, which is obviously a huge number, but I'm hoping what you've seen from this series is that there's a reason why it costs this much, and there isn't really another way to do this job properly. So you just have to bite the bullet and commit to that it's going to cost that much. And yes, this is maybe not a car that you think is worth that much, but it's about investing in it in the future. And if it is something you're wanting to sell, you almost could potentially add this price to the price of selling it. If you're not doing this in the next 5 to 10 years, there's not going to be many of these left, just because there is no getting around the fact that these are rusting out. So it's one of those that I think is getting to that point where you've got to start spending this kind of money if you really want to keep it on the road for the longest possible period of time.
If you break it down as well with the amount of parts that are on the car, it's not just that's how much we charge in our labour at all. When you break it down, there's a lot of parts, i.e. full bush kit, all new wheel bearings, new ball joints, new track ends, every bolt is zinc plated or everything's powder coated, filler necks, AC gas, 5 litres of oil. You break all that down and actually it doesn't matter what you do, if you keep adding parts to something, the number just increases. Realistically, the residual value that you keep in the car from doing this means that it's not dead money per se. And it also means that when you drive it, like we said at the beginning, is that you will feel most of those pound coins when you're driving it, rather than it just being something that looks and feels exactly the same. And yeah, there's no getting away from the sum of the parts. It's just everything costs a lot of money nowadays. We appreciate that not everyone has this kind of money to spend on a car, but at the same time, if you want to achieve this level of finish, this level of protection, and something that's done properly and it looks OEM, there's no big weld lines everywhere or patches, then I don't think there's a better or cheaper way of doing this. It's certainly not for us anyway. The amount of time that we spend on these isn't reflected in the cost. We try and be as fair as we can, and I understand that £6,500 is a lot of money to anyone, but I really feel like this is great value for what we've done.
Yeah, and I also want to mention, like, I don't have a load of money just stashed away. Like, this is something, yeah, well, especially not anymore. I've paid this, but it's that I've planned for this in my head for at least 4 years, and I've been saving for that long. So I know that this sounds like a crazy amount, and it is, but I've kind of known this has been coming for that length of time. And then obviously since the health check, I was like, this kind of does need to happen sooner rather than later for this car, because it is a good shell worth saving, and it's going to cost me more if I don't do it sooner, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's just one of those, like, for me, this car is too good to just let it rot away. And I think in the future, the price of these will start going up, and who knows where they'll end up, but it's only going to be the ones that have had this kind of work done that are going to be around still. So if it is a car you're thinking of keeping long term, I do still think it's worth it. And as I hope you've seen from the videos, the whole series, that the amount of work that goes into it does justify the price. Yeah.
Hopefully. But yeah. I think it does, and I think it's all relative. If you've got a £100 car and you want to spend £100 on it, Jesus Christ, it's a lot of money. Realistically, this is a £6 car and you're spending 6 on it. It's not worth 6 anymore. It's probably worth closer to 10. What you'll get from driving it now, as from what it was before, I think is a big plus point. People look around and go, now it's proper. And because you knew 4 years ago that this was going to be something that you're going to look at doing, and you had that foresight to do it, then once you had the health check, you planned it properly and went, well, this is what I want to achieve, this is the spec that we're going to go for, and it makes it much easier to stomach the cost, because you knew everything that you wanted to do during the process, if that makes sense. So really happy with the outcome.
Just for you guys that have made it long enough through this video, as you can see, the Civic is back with the S2000 now, and Motion are going to do you guys a deal if you've been watching this video all the way through, or watching the whole series, I guess. If you book your car in for either sill or arch repairs, or for a full restoration, then Motion are going to give you those panels for free for those repairs, basically. Just make sure you say that you came from my videos, or that, yeah, that I sent you, whatever. That doesn't include the labor. The panels themselves will be free of charge if you book in with Motion Motorsport. Get booked in with these guys. As you can see, the work's incredible. Anyway, back to the video. Yeah, I'm super happy with how it looks as well. Obviously, it looks insane. And I still haven't driven it. But yeah, I just want to say thank you to you, Dave.
That's all right, dude. And we'll see you in a few weeks.
Oh,
Anyway.
yes. As part of this, there's a nut and bolt check that happens after about 500 miles, isn't it?
Yeah, so obviously, as with anything that you powder coat, everyone will know that have had a set of powder wheels powder coated and they haven't cleaned the hub face up or anything like that, is that powder coat softens through heat cycles. Now, all of the brake mounting surfaces and stuff get ground back anyway, so there's no real danger of anything falling off. But in the next 500 miles, what we say to everyone that has this process, you come back in, we recheck the alignment, and we do a full bolt check as well, just to make sure that there's nothing that's coming loose, falling off, failed, things happen, and just to give you some peace of mind moving forward, because obviously you don't want to be making treks up and down the country to work and stuff back every day and thinking, what's that noise? Or taking it for a service or an MOT or doing something yourself and thinking, oh, this is loose. And we're trying to make sure that as part of this, we give you some sort of aftercare as well. Just see you in a few weeks, really. And hopefully nothing's fallen off.
Yeah, so I will bring you guys along for that update as well. So we will be back and this car will be back in the air so we can see a little update of this thing. But yeah, next video is going to be the first drive of what this thing's like. But either way, guys, that's going to do it for this one. Don't forget to subscribe. It would really help me out if you watch this all the way through as well, because some ad revenue would be nice to pay for this. Like this one, comment down below what you think of the final outcome of this thing. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Follow Motion Motorsport too.
Yes, just follow Motion Motorsport.